Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst for 26th October 2024, where we will be understanding 7 most important articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express. In the very first part of our discussion, we'll be starting with the analysis section, where we will be taking up 2 articles. Firstly, we'll be understanding the details aspect of the anti-defection law in the country. And in the second section of the analysis, we'll be trying to understand how aspirations are very important for our country and where the middle class of India will be playing a bigger role in the economic development of the nation. In the second part of our discussion, we'll be discussing 5 more articles in the simplified portion, which are very crucial for the upcoming prelims 2025 examination. So stay tuned. Since time immemorial, there have been issues of political defections or horse trading in the country, and this is a very serious issue and a blot in the name of the democracy of our country. We know that every elections are an kind of an aspirations for our country, where the people like us, we go to the polling centers, we vote for our representatives, but when tomorrow, if those representatives, they switch their political parties, they switch their allegiance to particular ideologies in the name of money, in the name of corruption, then it is a clear aspect of the decline of the democracy of our country. So this is exactly what this editorial is talking about in the context of anti-defection law, which is a particular provision or a legislation in the country to prevent the increasing amount of defections across the various decades of our Indian polity. And here this is an editorial which is a very beautiful editorial, let me tell you, which you should be reading in great detail, and also we will be trying to analyze the various aspects of this editorial and also the related topics related to the same. Now this is talking about that there are some gaps even in this anti-defection law as of now, and that is what we'll be trying to understand. And this is a very important article for your prelims examination, which is consisting of topics from Indian polity and governance and from GS2, where we have to discuss about the functioning and the various issues related in the functioning of the parliament and the state legislatures. So let us start. We'll be starting with this snippet of the newspaper article. Now the author has mentioned a very important term, Ayaram Gayaram. Now Ayaram Gayaram is a kind of a culture that we relate to political defections in the country. Why? Because Gayalal in 1967 was a legislature. What he did is a very funny incident and also a very serious incident, to be very precise. What he did, he changed the political party thrice in a fortnight. That is, in a matter of 14-15 days, he changed his political party 3 times, right? And what he did, first he went to the INC, Indian National Congress. From there he went to Janata Party, and again he went to Congress, right? And all of this happened within a matter of 14 days, right? So back to and fro from this particular aspect is generally, according to various experts, according to various historians, were related to money, power, politics, and so on. So this is actually one of the aspects which Rajiv Gandhi, when he was the Prime Minister of our country in the 1980s decades, he tried to change this. So in 1985, the 52nd Amendment to the Constitution was brought in to bring in the 10th schedule of the Constitution, where the politicians have to be held accountable for their particular electoral practices and also with reference to allegiance to a particular political party. So in this particular aspect, the provisions of the anti-defection law are as follows. Firstly, any legislature will be subject to disqualification, right? If that particular member will be changing the political party after the election and going to some other political party for that matter. Next, there are actually 2 grounds for that. Firstly, if the particular member has voluntarily given up the membership of a party, that particular member will be subjected to defection. And also, if that particular member has not yet changed the political party, but in the house of, say, the Lok Sabha or in the state legislative assembly, right? If that particular person is abstaining from voting, in the particular discourse of the house, or going against the directive of the political party, of his own political party, of her own political party, so that person will be subjected to defection. So there are generally 2 grounds. Firstly, voluntary grounds and voting against the directive of the political party. Next, the independent members will be immediately disqualified if they join any political party after they are elected, right? So they cannot join any political party after their elections. But this is not the same case in the case of the nominated members, where up to 6 months they will be having the space to join any political party, but after 6 months they cannot join, and if they join they will be subjected to defection, right? And they will be disqualified under the particular law. The next provision is exceptions. Now, according to this particular aspect, the very first ground with which this particular law is giving exemption is that if at least 2/3 members, right, of a particular party agree to merge with another party, the members who agree to the merger are not disqualified, right? Members who do not want to agree to that particular merger, they can form a separate group, and also they are not disqualified. So this is a very, very important exception. Next, the speaker, right, of the particular house, they can resign from the political party, right, in the name of neutrality, in the name of, say, impartiality. So for the time in which they are actually the members of the house, they can withdraw the membership of that particular political party. So these are the two grounds which are as of now serving as exemptions. Now the main deciding authority under this particular law is the speaker or the chairman, whose decision in the matters related to anti-defection law is final. Now that is why they have been given this exemption. If you remember that we just discussed that they are exempted. Why? Because we know that the speaker, the chairman of the house, are actually the upholders of the constitution of the country and the values enshrined within the same within the house, and that is why when the main deciding authority is also with them, so it is actually agreed that they must be neutral and impartial. So that is why they have been also been exempted, and also the main high decision making authority is also at their disposal. And finally, when we discuss about the role of the whip, now whip is actually serving as a directive, right, as a directive that is, say, appointed by the various political parties in a particular individual, right, who will be seeing that all of the members, all of the MPs or the MLAs in that particular legislative house, right, they will be adhering to the party directive. So you can tell that this particular individual who is a party whip, he is actually maybe the monitor of the house of that particular political party. So every political party is having a party whip who is serving as a monitor to look that every particular MLA or the MPs, they are abiding by the party's decisions. Now here, when we discuss about some of the amendments which have been made in this particular law, firstly, we have to understand that there was another exemption apart from these two exemptions, right? There was another exemption earlier. What was that? The 1/3 split rule. That is, any defection arising out of 1/3 split in a particular political party. But right now it is not allowed, right? This was cancelled by this 91st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003, right? So disqualification in case of split by 1/3 members of a particular legislature party has been deleted as of now. That means defectors have no more protection on the grounds of split. Apart from this particular provision, there have been various other amendments too. Firstly, the total number of ministers shall not be exceeding 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. That is, and also at the state, the minimum must be 12 members, right? Next, the members disqualified on the ground of defection are also disqualified from being appointed as a minister. So, over a period of time, say in 2003, and also over a period of time, it has been seen that the anti-defection law provisions have been made more and more stricter, right? And also, as we can see from the next amendment, it is further more strict that member disqualified on the ground of defection shall also be disqualified from holding any remunerative political post. So once you defect and once that stamp of defection is imposed on you, you will be disqualified from political post, ministers, and so on. So that is why it is looked down upon as of now in the political circles. But if it is looked down upon, can we not assume that this is some practice which does not take place? But in recent times, as we can see in many states as of now in the comment section, you let me know 3-4 instances of recent defections as we have seen in the last 2-3 years in various states of the country where defections were seen. And these kinds of defections leave a very, very questionable remark on India's democracy, on the people's mandates, on the or say on their particular people's representatives. So this is what we have to understand, that there are some challenges with reference to the implementation of the anti-defection law. The first challenge is that according to this law, there has been no particular time frame which the speaker has to decide the cases upon and has to deliver the speaker's verdict or the chairman's verdict on whether the cases have been subjected to defection or not. Now this is leaving a kind of say legroom for the speaker, mainly from the speakers from the ruling political dispensation, to keep the defection pending or say the cases of defection pending if the defected members are from their own political party, right? So this is a kind of a loophole that is there. Next, the discretionary power of the speaker is also very, very wide. So this is also some of the aspects which the constitutional experts, the various petitioners, even the Supreme Court has highlighted time and again. And even in the Kyoto Holland case, the Supreme Court clearly clarified that earlier there was a provision that any aspect of this anti-defection law cannot be subjected to judicial review, or they cannot be inquired into any courts of law. But in the Kyoto Holland case, it was clearly said by the Supreme Court that it is not the provision that any law in the country is outside the purview of the Supreme Court in this particular manner, right? If it is pertaining to the case of anti-defection, it is definitely within the purview of the Supreme Court. But that doesn't mean that the speakers are having less powers as of now. They are having discretionary powers, and that is also hurting the fabric of Indian democracy. Second, there is a lack of transparency in party whips, and this has been cited as one of the provisions which is kind of decreasing the freedom of speech of the individual MLAs and the MPs of our country. Why? Because we have just learned that the party whips are kind of the class monitors, right? We have to listen to them, and as MLAs and MPs we have to listen to the party whip and their directions. If not, you will be subjected to defection, right? And once you defect, we have seen according to the 2003 amendment that we will be subjected to various penal provisions. So that is what is also curbing the freedom, individual freedom of the individual legislature. Next, the judicial review is limited to uphold the legislative autonomy, right? While the Supreme Court has time and again reviewed many cases with reference to defection in the country, but there have been, various instances where Supreme Court has even taken some actions, but those actions have not been culminated in various amendments that are required to be made in the law. So that is what we have to understand. While there is judicial review, while the Supreme Court, as we will be seeing later, have ruled on various cases regarding the anti-defection law, but in practice, they are not being implemented. Next, also the recent instances, as we have seen in the many states, right? You mentioned them in the comments below, right? So in those states, there have been many cases of defections in this particular manner, right? And here, then we have to understand what are the judicial observations regarding the same. As we have already mentioned, the name of Kyoto Holland case of 1992, right? The Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of that law. That is perfectly fine. While in this particular case, the petitioners, the lawyers, they brought up that countries like US, countries like say UK, while they are also vibrant democracies, they do not have any anti-defection law. Why? Because maybe these countries believe that it is up to the voters to decide the future of that particular political representative who are defecting. Because generally when you defect, it is not a good thing that you do in a political career. It shows that you are not loyal to your particular party, and at the end of the day, you are also not loyal to the people. So that is why the petitioners argue that if it is not, if we do not have any provisions in the US or the UK, why you have provisions in India in this particular matter? But Supreme Court said that the conditions are not same in US and in India. And that is why in India, we need strict provisions regarding people who are defecting. So that is why Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of the law while telling the same thing, that judicial review is also permitted under this particular provision. Next, under G. Vishwanathan case of 1995, the Supreme Court ruled that the decision of the speaker is final and cannot be challenged in a court of law. While in these two cases, it was also inferred till the speaker has not made any decision, judicial review will not come in. After the speaker has made a decision, then you can subject the same to the judicial review. But till the speaker has not taken any action, no court can inquire into the same, right? Then under Ravi S. Nayak case of 1994, the speaker or the chairman of a relevant legislative body can disqualify an elected representative for defection. That means that it is again upholding the anti-defection law and its provisions. Then in the Kesham Meghachandra Singh 2020 case, the speaker's role in defection cases can be replaced by an independent tribunal, because by 2020 there have been many instances of defection, and also the general discourse in Indian polity observed, and also various experts observed, and also Supreme Court judges, they observed that the speakers are being compromised due to political interference and their political allegiance. They are not being loyal to the constitutional values, right? So that is why the court suggested that there can be a 3-month deadline, right, or say for the speakers to conclude disqualification proceedings against the defectors, and also there can be a tribunal which can be headed by a retired Supreme Court judge or say an High Court Chief Justice, who will be particularly say looking into the aspects of say the defection cases. So it recommended that Parliament should be amending the constitution to set up a permanent tribunal to decide the cases in this particular matter. Now we will be looking into some more say proposals or suggestions that have been suggested. In this particular article, we have 3 broad suggestions. Firstly, we can introduce a 4-week deadline for the speaker to resolve defection cases. This will be preventing undue delays and also sometimes strategic delays due to political reasons. Next, also the failure to reach a decision within 4 weeks will be leading to automatic disqualification of the members, right? So this is a good kind of a provision which must be brought in. Next, the public disclosure of the party whips are very important. That is, what are the directions that the particular political party is giving to their particular whips. So we must be knowing that, and every particular MLAs and MPs should be adhering to the particular party whip. That is fine. But what are the particular directions? What are the guidelines? They must be transparent, right? They must be having a proper communication in this particular matter. And also the clarity on various party positions on various matters, on defense matters, on public policy matters, on say economic matters. They must be also be clear to the individual MLAs and MPs. Sometimes they are also not aware of the various party policies, right? So that is why the political party, they must be taking reforms with reference to internal democratization of the political party. So the internal politics of the political party, they must be made more democratic. This was also suggested by the Election Commission of India. Next, and finally, we have to also understand the political will is also very, very important for the reforms, because unless and until the political dispensation, they do not agree to bring up these amendments, bring up these proposals, then nothing can be happening. That is why, the article calls out prominent Indian political leaders at the national level, at the state level, to have political will to bring in reforms for the larger interest of the nation and the future sustainability of the Indian polity. Apart from this, we have also various key committees, such as the Dinesh Goswami Committee of 1990, who suggested that transparent issuance of whips, transparent measures, transparent guidelines, they must be given to the various MLAs and MPs to limit the speaker's discretionary powers. The speaker cannot tell that, we have not adhered to that guideline, this is against that and so that. So, the MLAs and MPs, they will be having a particular, say, evidence that this is the whip and we have done this. Next, in the Hashim Abdullah Halim Committee, right, they recommended that there must be an independent tribunal with the Supreme Court. In a 2020 case, they have also tried to implement the same, right? Then in the Law Commission's 170th and 255th report, right, the speaker must be, say, functioning as a neutral body in this particular matter and must be upholding the highest ideals of the Indian Constitution, which has been also reiterated by the National Commission to review the working of the Constitution, where the same thing has been suggested that more transparency, better amount of implementation and amendments need to be there with reference to the anti-defection law. So with reference to this, we have a 2013 UPSC mains PYQ, right? The question is very interesting, that the role of individual MPs or member of parliament has diminished over the years, and as a result, right, healthy constructive debates on policy issues are not usually witnessed. Why? Because the members fear that if they go against the class monitor or the party whip, they will be subjected to defection, right? Don't you agree? Then how far can this be attributed to the anti-defection law, which was legislated but with a different intention? Now, can you give your 2 cents or your 2-3 opinions in the comments below how to actually improve the scenario here? And also, you would let me know in the comments below what is the answer to this 2014 PYQ in prelims. That it is a very easy, PYQ. Let me tell you, I want all of your answers in the comments below, right? That which is the following schedule in the constitution regarding anti-defection. So we'll be moving on to the next one. In the next article, I personally like the author of this particular article, who is Harish Damodaran, and also you can quote him in your answers. Now, in this article is having a different touch, right, with reference to the topics we usually discuss. But again, this is a very important article for your Indian economy in GS3. Now, what this article is talking about is the simple term aspirations. We all are UPSC aspirants, right? We all are aspiring to become the future bureaucrats of our country, which I am very sure that all of you will be, right? With your hard work, with your determination. Now, this is the main thing, with your hard work and your determination, that every individual, they desire to accelerate their current status and current well-being, right? We do not always want to stay stagnant in our lives. We want to, for example, in our schools, we wanted always better marks, right? In our colleges, we wanted better programs, better streams. After college, we are preparing for the exam, and also while we are preparing for the exam, we are aiming for a particular service, right? Also in your comment section, you let me know which service all you are aiming for, right? So we see that in every sphere of our life, we are aspiring for something better. Now, this article is talking about that, how a simple, say, for example, say philosophical thing, they can transform the entire economy at a very big scale. And when we talk about aspirations, are we talking about aspirations of a selected few people in the country, such as the rich people of the country? No, we are not only talking about them, we are talking about the middle class of our country, how their aspirations will be shaping the India of tomorrow. So this is the main context here. And also the main context here is also talking about that multiple indicators such as reverse migration, two-wheeler sales, rural employment, they show that Indians are increasingly having less confidence in the future, or their aspirations are coming down. Now, this is something totally different, right? So that is what we'll be understanding, why the aspirations are coming down and what are the various indicators for the same. This is a very important topic for UPSC prelims, where we'll be looking at various terms which are relevant for your prelims examination and also for our GS3, right? Where we have to discuss about Indian economy, and parts of this particular article are related with growth, development and employment in our country. Now, when we talk about aspirations, we actually talked a lot about the same using various examples. But here, according to the newspaper article, in the very introductory phase, right, the author has clarified that as a human being, we have a natural human yearning to always be better. That is, I want to live better than my parents and wish an even brighter future for my future generations after me. So this is a basic drive that people try to aspire for. But has this been the case since, say, many millennia in the country? No. If we look back at history, we understand that in India, we had the Indian Varna system, the caste system. Now, where the professions of various individuals were delineated according to their castes, right? And within the caste system, we have seen it was generally the Vaishyas or the business, castes who were always aspiring to expand their business, go to new towns, go to new ports and set up various business and merchant establishments there. In the comment section, can you let me know 2-3 famous business classes in our, say, Indian history, and also some of the important and prominent port towns, important cities, which were mainly known for their business activities, right? So let me see how well you have studied your Indian history. And also, we have seen that the caste system function as a rigidity for the various individuals who aspire to say do something better, right? But over a period of time, as of now, after our independence and also after globalization, we understand that there are prominent shift in aspirations as of now, right? In India of today, we know that we have a huge chunk of youth who are trying to aspire for various things, right? And the main thing is that in India, right, we are always trying to seeking upward mobility. That means we are always trying to improve our social status. We are trying to improve our personal disposable incomes, right? We are trying to improve the respect that we have in our society, right? So this is always a process, an ongoing process that is going on. And also we must be understanding the intricate link between the optimism and aspiration, right? But before that, we have to look at some data which is supporting this upward mobility in the country. As we can see, from 1980s to 2011 up till the last census which was held, the pattern of internal migrants in the country, they have been kind of increasing over a period of time, where be it intra-district, inter-district or interstate migrations, we have been seeing there is an increasing trend of migration. While the major reason is marriage in this particular matter, but the other reasons have been very interesting. For education purpose, for jobs, right, for various other productive reasons, people are migrating. And if we even look at the current data, the current data is not available because the census has not been held as of now. But if we can understand, right, India has changed drastically from 2011, right? And also we will be seeing higher amount of migrations in recent times. If we just look at the case of Delhi, right, if we can understand whose Delhi was it, right, in 2011 census according to the same, we understand majority of the people have migrated from Uttar Pradesh, from Bihar, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand and so on. So we understand due to Delhi's economic integration with reference to say various industrial corridors, with reference to various software companies and so on, and with reference to various other say establishments in the capital region, we see there is a lot of interest from the from the Indians who actually try to migrate to seek a better life in the capital, all due to aspirations. Also, when we look at the Indians who are not Indians as of now because they have migrated outwards of our country, that is, they have settled to some other in some other countries, they have we can see over a period of time there have been increasing trend of Indians who are giving up their Indian citizenship, of having a better aspiration for their future, to earn abroad, to settle abroad, right? So also we have seen that these are increasing over a period of time, right? So all evidence points to this direction, that there is an upward mobility in the particular country as of now. And when we talk about this particular trend, the desire for upward mobility thrives during periods of optimism. That is when we are optimistic about the future, when we understand that okay, there's an opportunity abroad, that if I pursue my PhD abroad, I will be able to earn more money, I will be having this respect, I will be having the status in the society, and even when I come back to India, so I will be having a better position as a professor and so on, right? Also, when we try to aspire to become IAS, Indian Foreign Service officers, Indian Police Service officers, we are trying to aspire for something better, we are aspiring to make a change in our country. So this is actually seen during periods of optimism. So we youth must be optimistic from our side, right? That is the main first direction towards being aspirational, right? And also migration is actually one sign of aspiration. That is why we discuss this kind of data. Now, when the author is talking about that there is a decline in the aspirational indicators as of now, what he is actually talking about, firstly, by indicators he is actually referring to some data sets. Now, he looked at some Indian Railways passenger numbers as a proxy. What he saw is that before the COVID-19 pandemic, right, before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was increasing amount of internal migration in the country across various states, right? But after COVID-19, what happened? Due to, say, the reverse migration, that is the migrant laborers in various metropolitan areas of the country, they started returning back to their home. So which is known as a reverse migration during COVID pandemic. And after the COVID pandemic, right, it has been seen that migration to that pre-pandemic level is not seen anymore. Next, we also have seen that the people who have returned back, they have returned back to, agricultural activities, which is serving as an employment sink. That is, if we do not have any jobs, the best way to get jobs is at the agricultural practice, right? So that is what it is serving as an employment thing. But this is resulting into, huge amount of disguised unemployment, right? Next, we also have the nature of stagnant jobs, as we can see with the particular ILO report here, 2024 report. As we have seen, the formal jobs are the regular jobs, right, which are having better amount of job security, job protection, and so on. As we can see, right, in 2019, in 2022, the formal jobs have kind of decreased in recent times at the expense of the self-employed and the casual, employment. While these two sections of employment, they're not having a better amount of job security. So the job situation is also stagnant. Also, two-wheeler sales, which is an indicator of, say, rising middle class, because the middle class in our country, they always demand two-wheelers, four-wheelers in our country. So they have also been going down. And also, there is a culture in India, just like China, right, that is a chalta hai attitude, which is kind of a lying flat. That is, we leave mostly the things to our fate, right? तो जो होगा दिखा जाएगा, चलता है. So these are the things which kind of also dictate that the aspirations are coming down. And what are the implications? Firstly, that when optimism feeds, people become content. People become content with the less that they are having, right? That means that if you are not getting jobs, then you accept that it is normal and you go back to your farmlands and you do not even aspire, and whatever little money you get from your farmlands, you try to subsist on that. But that is not the way forward for our economy. We need to aspire for better. Next, it also leads to risk aversion due to pessimism. Once we understand that we do not have jobs in our country, we do not have good opportunities for various sectors in the economy. So what the people thinks that there is a kind of a pessimism in the particular nation. So that is why they do not even search. This is a case of this 17th century England, when people actually tended to become more and more unproductive for a period of time. But being unproductive, that does not mean they were unhappy. They were happy because they were content. But this is not the way to go for a nation, right? And also the impact of welfare schemes, right, is also very, very important to understand when we consider the behavioral economics, right? We understand in economics we have various branches. Behavioral economics says that economics is not only about numbers, about data. It is also about the psychological behavior of the people. When we give various benefits to the people under government schemes, so don't you think that the people can become a little lazy, right? And they can reduce their labor. They can reduce number of hours that they work. And if they reduce this, it will be leading to less production of our country. And if there is less production, there will be less GDP of our country. So this is also the same, that people, they become content. If there are, decreasing amount of aspirations, people settle down, right? And also, in recent times, we have seen the cases of various freebies, reveries, or we have seen the various political parties for winning elections. They are giving free laptops, free smartphones, free everything to the people. This is also leading to the culture of dependency, where people, they think that we will be getting these things from the political party before elections, so why work hard? So these are the things which are leading to dangerous implications for the future ahead. And also we must be always remember Swami Vivekananda's words, that is, we must not be stopping, we must not be lying down for any reason. We must be arising, awaking, and stopping not till the goal is reached. And this is exactly what we all must be doing, right? That passion, that determination that we have in ourselves to become something in the future, to become IAS officers, IPS, IFS officers, and IRS, and various other professions, right? We must be trying for that till the last energy level that we have. And that is why there is a need for revival of optimism in the Indian economy. Firstly, we must be awakening our own aspirations, right? That is a very, very important aspect. We must be reviving the aspirations to get back the animal spirits. Now, animal spirits refers to the revitalized economy, which will be leading to better amounts of investment, better amount of demand in the country, which will be fueling the Indian economy. And India's new middle class is very, very important, which is a statement that our Prime Minister talked, and that is what is also seen in many of the recent government schemes, right? As we can see, recently the government have been giving various incentives for interest subventions for loans in agricultural activities, right? Then the government has given, around 20,000 crores to NABARD to fund or say give loans to farmers, right? We also have Kisan credit cards, right? We also have the various NBFCs which are being given funding by the central government. As we can see, these are all initiatives not to give free money to the people. So the people can take loans from the government of India, from the government of various state governments, right? And they can invest the loans in various entrepreneurial activities. So they can invest to say reskill themselves. So this will be leading to better amount of aspirations of the country. This will be not say giving the people free money, free incentive. This will be giving the people an opportunity to do something on their own. And that will be that is also seen right now by increasing amount of startups in the country, increasing amounts of skilling imperatives and the skilling skills in the or say schemes in the nation. And these are leading to positive developments in the political and economical discourse of the country. And finally, we must be also aiming for broader prosperity and sustained development across all sectors. We must be integrating the agricultural sector, we must be integrating the industrial sector and the service sector, and we must be finding how we can fit in various initiatives to fit in the MSMEs, right, to accommodate the farmers, to accommodate the rural unemployed youth and say the urban unemployed youth, where we can seek and where we can create more avenues for employment. And this is how we must be going forward. And here we have a mains practice question for all of you, that without addressing several declines in aspiration, India may struggle to fulfill its growth potential and uplift its burgeoning middle class. Do you agree? Now, in this answer, you can actually start with a very interesting term, which is known as demographic dividend. Now, as we can understand, the working age population as of now and also going forward in 2031 will be say 65%. And also it will be peaking in the 2040s decades, where we understand we have a majority part of the country who will be in the working age. So we must be exploiting and tapping into their potential. So we can start with this reference, and a summary of your answer you can present in the comment section, so we can have a peer review and a peer discussion on this particular question. So moving on to the next one. In the next article, we'll be looking into the concepts of carbon markets regarding this editorial. This is a very important article for prelims when it comes to the concept of environment, climate change, biodiversity, ecology, and also for our GS3 when it comes to conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, and environment impact assessment. Why? Because this is a particular concept related to carbon markets. Now, when we talk about carbon markets, imagine this simple example here. Imagine that these are the two emitters A and B. These are located in a particular city, and for example, emitter A is producing cars and emitter B is also producing cars, but they are producing electric vehicles. You know that generally, electric vehicles will be releasing less amount of pollutants, or in our matter, for example, let us take the case of greenhouse gases. They would be producing less pollutants and possibly less greenhouse gases. And when they are producing cars, a car production involves a lot of pollution, right? And possibly they will be producing much more greenhouse gases than emitter B. What happens in the factory B? Since they have saved a lot of greenhouse gases, they will be actually be better off at a climate change level in the particular matter. So what happens? Due to increasing amount of climate change and adverse climate related events, right, the world has focused on creating some carbon markets where, for example, say on a daily basis, government has told that every industry, you cannot pollute more than 100 units of greenhouse gases. But you know that the factory B is already very eco-friendly. They are producing only, for example, say 30 units of greenhouse gases. So they have a surplus of how much? 60 units of say greenhouse gases, right? So what they can do, they can sell their 60 units to a common market. This can be a bank, this can be a particular exchange, right? What they will be do, they will be looking into various industries who are polluting more, right? Who are polluting above 100 units. So if a particular say industry, for example here A is producing more, say that is they are producing say for example 120 units. So what they can do, they can allocate 20 units from the surplus 60 units and they will be selling to this particular aspect here in this emitter A. So this is exactly how carbon markets operate, that each and every factory there, or say each and every production process, each and every industry, they are having a particular limit or a cap, right, within which they have to operate, and after they breach that cap they have to either pay, or if they do not breach that cap they will be getting some payment. So over a period of time, or a long period of time, we can understand industries will be having greater incentives to migrate to clean technology. So this is exactly the main target of this 29th edition of the Conference of Parties that will be held at Baku, Azerbaijan, right? And also this will be trying to accelerate India's own access, or say transition to carbon markets. And here carbon markets are actually under the Paris Climate Agreement of 2015 under Article 6, as we can understand here, right? And this will be trying to enable the trading of prevented greenhouse gas emissions among the countries. And if we have a very brief look at what are the carbon markets try to incentivize carbon action by enabling the various parties, which are the various industries, for example emitter A and emitter B in this particular example, right, to trade in carbon credits generated by the reduction in the removal of the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, such as by switching from fossil fuels to renewable energy, or by enhancing or conserving carbon stocks in ecosystems such as forests, oceans, and so on, right? So this is what is provided in this Article 6, right, which is trying to have various kinds of carbon reducing activities, right? And here what is the news all about is that we must be having a better amount of carbon markets over a period of time. In the world, we do not have a established supply chain of the carbon markets, right? While the main aspects of Kyoto Protocol, the main aspects of say environmental discourse in recent times is actually to set up the carbon markets all around the world. But as of now, we are just having the illusion of carbon reductions due to fictitious carbon market, due to improper carbon market, because there's some issues with carbon markets as of now. Firstly, the pricing of carbon equivalents of greenhouse gases that we have seen is very, very volatile. It varies from various companies to companies and so on. The governance and regulation is also very lax across countries. There's a lack of standardization and transparency with reference to the various companies which are trying to provide carbon markets. There is also carbon leakage, that sometimes it has been seen that sometimes more pollution in terms of greenhouse gases have been committed with reference to various issues here. Then there are also various issues with reference to monitoring, reporting, and verification of the carbon credits, right? So these are also the various issues. And that is why this particular COP is very important, because they will be focusing on improving the carbon market infrastructure all across the world, where Baku will be seen as a final resolution of this problem. And also India is expected to gain something here. Firstly, India is taking a lot of initiatives to have clean and green technology with reference to industrialization and so on. That is why, as we have seen, India has also made voluntary commitment to migrate to say clean sources of electricity by non-fossil fuel energy sources by 2030, right? And also we have a mushrooming private sector in the country which is trying to have innovative forestry projects, which will be say gaining us a lot of carbon credits, because we are doing our bit to reduce the greenhouse gases. So maybe this particular say activities, they will be incentivized by the rest of the world, and we will be getting money for that, right? And also we have various say companies which are also trading via voluntary carbon markets in the country. Apart from this, India's iron and steel industries also try to have set a vision to meet emission intensity standards by 2025. Also, by restricting the amount of carbon per unit of production, this will depend on the regulatory enforcement, and also will be formally kicking the India's carbon markets going forward. Apart from this, India is also having this Panchamrit vision that we will be having 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy capacity by 2030. We will be achieving 50% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. We will be reducing the carbon emissions of our GDP, right, by 1 billion tons by 2030. Then reducing the carbon emissions of the economy by 40%, right, say by 2030 again, and achieving net zero by 2070. So all these are green commitments which are trying to reduce the greenhouse gases over a period of time, and hence fight climate change. So this will be better, position India for bargaining a higher price for carbon credits that India has generated over a period of time. So let us move on to the next one. In the next article, we'll be looking into the recent ISRO and the DBT agreement on the biotech aspects at our own indigenous space station. And this is a very important article for our prelims with reference to general science, and also for GS3 for indigenization of technology and developing new technology in the country. Now when we talk about this article, firstly we have to understand the Bharatiya Antariksha Station, right? This is the own indigenous space station that India is aiming to develop, as we can see here, right? This will be having proper amount of infrastructure, as we have seen in the case of International Space Station. Now can you in the comment section let me know what is the International Space Station actually, and who built the International Space Station, and who are actually operating the ISS as of now. Now along the same models, right, India is trying to have their own presence at space, right? In this particular matter, if you can see, the particular space station is having all of the proper state of the art infrastructure, which India is intending to launch by 2035, that is 1 decade from now, right? And this will be very significant for India. Why? Because this will be positioning India as a major player in the space exploration race, because even China is kind of developing their advanced version of the space station. Next, it will be also opening doors for international collaboration, because Indian owned space station will not only be limited for India, but also with like-minded nations such as Japan and other partners in the European continent. Also, it will be leading to sharing and exchange of global scientific knowledge. Next, when we talk about this particular news, ISRO is trying to plan various amount of research activities at the Indian space station, right? That is some of the questions, that is how weightlessness can influence muscle loss, those in space, what kind of algae may be suitable as nutrients or to preserve food for longer, how some algae can be processed to make jet fuel, right? Impact of radiation on the health of those aboard the space station, right? So these are all the research activities that ISRO is intending to conduct on the space station, right? And also, ISRO and DBT has collaborated on very important initiative which is known as the BioE3, that is Biotechnology for Economy, Environment and Employment. That is a policy by the Department of Biotechnology or DBT to stimulate the biomanufacturing scenario in the country. Now biomanufacturing is actually trying to integrate the bio-based chemicals and enzymes, functional food and smart proteins, precision biotherapeutics, climate resilient agriculture, carbon capture and utilization, and futuristic marine and space research, which is trying to have a broader vision of inculcating or including the biotechnological aspects, and also manufacturing that on a larger basis to the benefit of our country. So this will be actually be worth at $300 billion by 2030. And also this agreement will be spurring innovation and development in human health, research, novel pharmaceuticals, biotherapeutics, regenerative medicine, bio-based technologies for the waste management, and also will be supporting multiple startups which will be creating more and more employment that will be leading to better GDP of our country. So this is a very important initiative that you have to keep in mind for your prelims preparation. In the next article, we'll be looking into this very important and serious aspect of right to die with dignity. This is a part of our prelims Indian polity and governance, and also a part of our constitution when it comes to the features of the constitution, basic structure of the constitution, also the very basic fundamental right of the people of the country. This is actually a very important political discourse which is coming, which is always present in the news, because at the end of the last month, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare released the draft guidelines for the withdrawal of life support in terminally ill patients to operationalize the Supreme Court's 2018 and 2023 orders on the right to die. We'll be looking at these orders. But firstly, let us understand what the guidelines are. Firstly, it will be setting up of primary and secondary medical boards. Please do remember these things which are very important for prelims. At the level of the hospital, which will be doing what? They will be determining where further medical treatment will be beneficial to a terminally ill patient or not. Now let us understand. Now, who is a terminal ill patient? That terminally ill patient is someone who knows that due to their disease, due to their illness, there is no future step that any medical practitioner that they can take to improve their condition. There are many patients like this who are lying at their deathbeds but are still supported by medical care, right? while the medical care can be fruitful in some very, very rare cases, but mostly they prolong the suffering of the individuals. Now this is actually spurring or kind of igniting a very important debate that whether individuals have the right to die with dignity or not, because we understand that if there are people who are stuck to their ICU beds for years and years, but still they do not have any clue about that because they are terminally ill, they are suffering, they are in pain, so they have the right to die with dignity. And that is why the guidelines are particular in this particular matter. Next, the second guideline is that the nomination of doctors will be there by the district chief medical officer or equivalent to hospital level secondary medical boards, who will confirm or reject the opinion of the primary medical board. So this is actually the primary stage, and this is actually the review stage in the particular guideline. Now, what is meant by withholding and withdrawing life sustaining treatment? So let us understand the basic. See, this means that discontinuing the life-sustaining medical interventions such as ventilators and feeding tubes, etc., when this no longer will be helping to improve the condition of the terminally ill patient, right? Life-sustaining treatments are medical treatments which are artificially replacing the bodily functions of heart, of our kidney, liver, and so on, which actually an external machine is taking care of because that particular person's organs are not performing, and that is why we need the help of these particular machines, right? These interventions are withheld or withdrawn with the intention of providing comfort care, because these particular machines, this ventilators, feeding tubes, these also lead to a lot of uneasiness and pain among the patients. So it is not a very good way of treating them if they are not showing any chances of improvement, right? The withdrawing or withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment takes place either through informed refusal by the patient, that is, they are themselves refusing that with decision-making capability, that they must be having the ability to make decisions, right? Or through advanced medical directives, or which are actually also known as living will, which is actually a document that specifies what actions to be taken if the person is unable to make their own medical decisions due to maybe immense pain, immense mental trauma due to the treatment. Right? For the person without decision making capability, or people who do not have any living will, right, the decision can be considered when the treating physician determines that there is no reasonable medical probability of recovery, right? So for the medical personnel, they must be confirming that there is no possible way of recovery at a terminal stage, and also any further medical intervention would only prolong the process of dying. That is, we have seen many cases of hospitals who are charging coma induced patients heavy sums of money from the relatives, from their close ones, right, even if the patients have passed away. So this is a kind of a practice, unethical practice, which is kind of practiced, and that is also leading to the increase of misery and suffering. So in the Supreme Court in 2011, in the Aruna Schonborg, which is a very, very popular case, Supreme Court recognized that life-sustaining treatment could legally be withheld or withdrawn even from persons without decision-making capability, upholding the right to die with dignity. 2018 Common Cause case, Supreme Court recognized that the right to die with dignity is a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution, and also legalized the use of advanced medical directives or living wills. In 2023, in the Common Cause case, the Supreme Court simplified the process of making living wills and withholding or withdrawing life support, sustaining treatment by removing bureaucratic hurdles. Right? Now here, we have to also discuss something about euthanasia. Right? Euthanasia is the intentional killing of a terminally ill patient by the doctor for the good of the patient. Right? So we have this passive euthanasia, which is actually withholding withdrawal of the life support system, as we have just discussed as of now. Right? And this is one of the major provisions that India is having with reference to active euthanasia. And according to ICMR, this is a kind of a misinterpreted term that the doctor is intentionally killing. It is not like that. It is actually for the betterment of the patient. That passive euthanasia is misinterpreted in the country, right? And also we must understand, according to ICMR guidelines, that withholding or withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment also includes do not attempt resuscitation orders. Now, resuscitation generally means the chest compressions or the mouth-to-mouth that the doctors or various people give to some terminally ill patient to revive their lives. But in this particular aspect, in this passive euthanasia, the doctors can also give the orders of do not attempt resuscitation, because even after resuscitation the patient may not recover, or their overall well-being will not be maybe better. This can be issued by the treating physician, who is well averse with the medical condition of the patient, in consultation with the patient or their family or the surrogate decision maker, right? So this is what we have to understand. Also, is withholding or withdrawing treatment is also akin to giving up on the patient. That are we giving up on the patient? No, we are not giving up. It is about recognizing that these interventions are not beneficial for the patient. It will be only increasing their suffering. And also, how a living will is drawn up and how does it work? This is very important for your prelims examination, right? This was to enforce 2018 Supreme Court judgment that living wills are written documents which are made by persons of 18 years or above, who are having this decision making capability as an adult, who express their will on how they would be wishing to be treated if they are terminally ill, or if they are losing the capability to make decisions when they are terminally ill. And this document should detail at least 2 surrogate decision makers. It can be from the family members, from the close friends, circles and so on. It can be even neighbors, right? And also the document becomes legal when it is signed in the presence of executor and 2 witnesses and attested before a notary or a gazetted officer. So these are the main aspects here. And also, what is the medical procedure for detailing the various withdrawing treatment here? Firstly, the treating hospital should be constituting a primary medical board, as we have seen here. These are detailed guidelines, where the board is composed of, say, a treating doctor and 2 subject matter experts with at least 5 years of experience. Now, to cross-check this first step, we have the second step. To ensure another level of check, the secondary medical board is there, who will be having registered medical practitioner nominated by the chief, district medical officer, and also the 2 medical experts with 5 years of experience, who should not be the same in the first review stage, right? They must be different individuals. And also the persons nominated by the patient in the advanced medical directive, right, must consent to the withholding or withdrawal of the treatment. The hospital should also be notifying the decisions on this particular matter to the local judicial magistrate. Then only the process will be final. And in this entire process, does the doctors have any authority to play God or take all the decisions? No. They have to make the assessment in a routine part of the medical practice, following proper ethical standards. And also, if there are some cases in which they have to make a shared decision making or a difficult decision, the various people, for example, say doctors, say the various say near and dear ones, will be consulted before taking any steps. So this was all important information that you need to know for your prelims examination in this particular matter. Now in the next article, we'll be looking into this very important research which was published, that why protected areas are seeing faster biodiversity declines than other areas which are not protected. This is very important for our UPSC prelims information when it comes to environmental ecology, biodiversity and climate change, and also for GS3 conservation topics with reference to environmental pollution and degradation. Now when we talk about this article, firstly we have to look about key statistics and also at this particular indicator, right? Now this BII indicator is showing that all across the world, right, as we can see here, mostly the world is falling into this bracket where it is showing very low amount of biological diversity. That means over a period of time, the biodiversity in the entire world that is decreasing at a very faster rate. And also, as we can understand, they decreased by around 1.88% between 2000 and 2020, right? And also we can understand that biodiversity within areas that deliver the most critical ecosystem services, or which are areas from mangroves or evergreen forests, they're also declining at a rate of around 2%, right? So these are all the data that we have to keep in mind for our mains examination. And the larger aspect is that biodiversity is declining at a faster pace inside the key protected areas than outside them, and also suggesting that designated more new areas will not automatically result in better outcomes for diversity. So this is according to a research by the Natural History Museum, and this is a wake-up call for policymakers and the various enforcers of the legislations. And here we have to understand what are the causes of decline. Firstly, many of the protected areas are not designed to safeguard the ecosystem. As we can look at this image, this one image is worth 1,000 words. You can actually comment what you think of this. We can understand in a particular forest, if we cut down the trees, if we shorten the boundaries of that forest, we compress the animals, we compress the flora and fauna in a particular area, and that is why is also one of the main reasons why the biodiversity is kind of decreasing over a period of time. Right. Next reason is that we have to understand that already it may be the case that before 5 years, 10 years and so on, before declaring that particular biodiversity protected area, right, we may have already degraded the area so much that it is not worth protecting the area as of now. Also, as we can understand that there are some region specific reasons also, as we can understand from say the Konkwati Doli National Park, right, we can understand that in this particular region of Republic Congo, this particular region is subjected to many oil and gas licensing to private sector. So they are leading to depletion of the flora and fauna in this region. And also the climate crisis has a role to play because of frequent wildfires and frequent amount of say droughts which are taking place, leading to say lesser amount of biodiversity, as we have seen in the case of Australian wildfires, right, which took place in 2019, which was a very, very serious one. And this is why we must be understanding, we must be taking the pledge to secure, to safeguard our parks, our natural frontiers, our biodiversity, and cover 30% of the global area under biodiversity protection by 2030. Now in the comment section, can you let me know what is this target all about and which global framework is trying to say achieve this particular matter, because we have just discussed this in the previous Analyst very recently. Now in the last article, we will be discussing about the government decision to double the loan limit under Mudra Yojana. Now in this particular scheme, it is a very important initiative we have to keep in mind, that is giving affordable credit to the micro and the small enterprises or the MSMEs in the countries. Right now, the MSMEs, they will be able to secure loans from various financial institutions such as public sector banks, RRBs, cooperative banks, private sector banks, foreign banks, microfinance institutes, right, and also the NBFCs. Any Indian citizen can take the loans from this particular say institutions, and the loans are generally of three types: Shishu, Kishore and Tarun. Shishu loans are up to 50,000, right? Kishore are up to say 50,000 to around 5 lakh rupees, and Tarun is from 5 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees. And here, what are the changes? The main change is that, which has been announced by the finance minister, is that the limit under the Mudra Yojana has been raised from 10 lakh to 20 lakh. But there is a caveat here, that the limit of the loan, right, has been enhanced for those entrepreneurs who have successfully repaid previous loans under Tarun category. So you have to take a previous loan to be available or say to be eligible under this particular updated version of the Mudra Yojana. But this is actually a very good step to build a good credit history of a particular entrepreneur, and also this will be enhancing this particular aspect of improving the entrepreneur's access to growth and expansion by getting better credit access by the financial institutes. So this was all for today. I thank you all for being a very patient audience. Please do attempt the quiz which is following up. We'll meet again soon. Till then, all the best of luck. Thank you.